So, nochmal einen wunderschönen Nachmittag. Ich möchte Sie recht herzlich begrüßen zu unserem Webinar State of the E-Mail Security. Und es geht hier um eine Umfrage, die Avanan durchgeführt hat, wie es heute um die Security im E-Mail-Umfeld bestellt ist. Und dazu hoffe ich, dass Sie sehr, sehr viele neue und gute Informationen bekommen über die E-Mail Security. Das Webinar wird in Englisch sein und wird durch den Don durchgeführt. Don, can you go to the next slide?
You bet. All right, there we go. Sorry
Okay.
about that.
Okay. So, mein Name ist Richard Hellmeier. Ich bin hier der Geschäftsführer von der Firma Aquayo und ich bin hier nur das Rahmenprogramm. Der Don wird sich gleich selbst vorstellen und der wird Ihnen alles über die E-Mail Security mitteilen. So, Don, it's your turn.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I'm not quite sure what you said. I'm sure it was all lovely. I appreciate the intro, though. Thank you very much. I didn't brush up on my German just yet, but hopefully next time, at some point I'll be able to do this in German. But thank you very much for your time. Appreciate you all joining and look forward to presenting to you the state of email security. Just about who Avanan is and what we're doing. And, we like to put a little bit of an overview, in terms of our background. But if you look at Gartner Peer Insights on their website, and you will see we are the #1 ranked email security solution there with the most reviews and the highest ranking. Ditto, same goes for the G2. So two of the largest peer review websites in the world have ranked us #1, and this is based on our customer satisfaction. We are growing at a incredibly fast pace, and we now have 3,300 customers worldwide. And when I started with Avanan, we didn't have a single customer. So in 5 years, we've gone from 0 to 3,300 customers worldwide, with the highest ranking on G2 in Gartner Peer Insights. So we must be doing something right. And hopefully by the end of this webinar, you'll understand that. From an agenda perspective today, we like to talk a little bit about the study, the results, and next steps. So we've got kind of the first thing we like to cover is, why this study? What is the problem that we're trying to uncover? And we all know that email continues to be the #1 threat, resulting in breaches worldwide, in corporations, public organizations, bar none. Email security, email is the #1 threat resulting in breaches. Again, we all know that the financial losses and reputation damage get most of the focus. And we see articles and headlines and news reports about someone being breached and how much they had to pay for ransomware and whatnot. We know that's a problem, right? What we're after and what we're trying to understand is the result, that the losses in time that come as a result of having to manage the email threat. And we felt like those losses in time, the amount of time organizations are spending managing the email threat, have been less quantifiable. So that's what we're trying to understand with this study. And again, you talk about the problem of phishing. You don't need to go very far to uncover some headlines. Next week, we have our Global Phish Report 2021 webinar that's coming out. I encourage you to sign up for that. In there, we see if you're in an organization with 10,000 users, on average, you're seeing 4,700 phishing attacks per month. Another study from CSO quantified that to be a $3.7 million spend associated with phishing for that same 10,000 user organization. And the research that we uncovered, and we'll talk more about this, really is that time focus. How much time are organizations spending managing that email threat? And what we found is that the SOC, the security operations team, spends about 23% of their time as a result of managing that email threat. So these are the things that we're really focused on. You know, the problem with phishing, again, quantifiable. Here's how much we're spending. Here's how many attacks we're getting. Less quantifiable is how much time we're spending on it. Here's another very interesting article that recently came out. It was about a year ago, actually, from, you know, basically saying that the security operations team, so the organizations that are responsible for responding to and securing the organization, are reaching burnout. They're overworked, and the reason is because they're spending more and more time threat investigation, and it's a result of alert fatigue. And now alert fatigue is basically, you know, SOC gets an alert, they gotta investigate it, they gotta put out the fire. So they're jumping around, going from alert to alert to alert, trying to put out these fires, playing the game of whack-a-mole, and it's resulting in burnout. So we know that, you know, the SOC is spending a lot of time, again, managing security and managing the email threat. And I use that term, managing the email threat, because it's all encompassing, and I'll get into it in a minute here. Another point, another bullet point, case that we can make, that phishing is causing real strain on the organization, is that, you know, a report that Gartner came out with in 2020, in September 2020, and it was about security security orchestration, automation, and response solutions. So if you're familiar with SOAR type solutions, there's a big market now in play, or you know, tools like Demisto and whatnot. One of the things that Gartner said in their analysis is that the most common use case for SOAR is automating the triage of suspected phishing emails reported by end users. You know, this happens to dozens to hundreds of times per day. Again, we're focused on how much time is the organization spending. It's resulting in SOC burnout, and it's resulting in new tools and solutions to be put into place to help manage the email threat. So again, we wanted to get to the bottom of that. We wanted to understand really how much time organizations are spending managing that email threat. We did a survey to 500 IT managers, you know, across the spectrum, and we asked them a series of questions, and we believe that this is the first comprehensive study analyzing the amount of time required to manage the email threat. And the questions that we asked them, we bundled into 3 different categories: prevention, response, and investigation. So let's talk about what's entailed in each of these 3 categories. So prevention. The organization spends time on prevention-based activities. That means that they've either enabled tools in place to help prevent the emails from coming into the organization. That could be tools like your secure email gateways, or what we dub legacy email gateways. That could be configurations to ATP. That could be, you know, the SOC is responsible for updating allow and block lists, creating new mail flow rules. So any task related to tuning or tweaking a solution, an email security solution, to prevent those attacks from reaching the end users, we categorize those activities in terms of prevention. Investigation: any steps taken to determine if an email is malicious or benign. So one of the common reasons for an investigation to occur is we train our users to report suspected phishing emails. So if you see something suspicious, say something. We encourage our end users to do that, to report those suspected phishing emails. But on the other side of that is someone having to do the investigation, to having to look at those emails to determine if they are suspicious or not, right? That takes time. So any activity related to the investigation, researching links, viewing headers, goes into the investigation bucket. And then the response is any activity after a female email is delivered to the end user. So, they do the investigation, they determine that it is in fact malicious. So any activity related to removing that email from that individual user's inbox to looking to see who else's account that is in, did they click on the links? Did that account get compromised? Were there any SharePoint OneDrive compromises? These are all related to the response category. So let's get into the high level findings here. Again, as I stated early on, the average SOC burns about 22.9% of their time dealing with the email threat. And you can see how their time is broken down here. The number one category that they spend time on is the investigation aspect. So again, I point out when we report phishing emails to our SOC or to our IT team, someone has to investigate that. So we're spending a lot of time, almost 23% of your time managing the email threat. But the challenge is that email attacks are still reaching the end users in record numbers. So let's talk about prevention, right? Let's go into one category deep and talk about the prevention. What we found, and we put the prevention categories over here. So you can see on the horizontal axis, what percentage of organizations actually spend time doing each of these different activities. You can see in general, more than half of the respondents are doing things like updating allowable block lists, updating ATP policies, implementing new mail flow rules, right? So most organizations are spending time on these basic activities. Again, this is more of a management of the prevention piece. I need our security tool. Our security tool misses emails. And so someone needs to go into the tool to tune it, to tweak it, to implement new mail flow rules. So you can see a lot of organizations are spending a lot of time just on some of the fundamental activities here. Updating signature files, updating sensitivity and confidence settings are not as prevalent as doing things like a mail flow rule. I'll give you an example. You see your email security solution missed an attack that came from acme.com. You now want to go in, acme.com is a malicious source for email. So you go into your O365 settings, implement a new mail flow rule to block any emails from acme.com. That would be an example of implementing new mail flow rules. Okay, the second element is investigation. So we talked about prevention, activities related to preventing those emails coming in, reaching your end users. Investigation is that second element. And there are really two parts to any investigation. One is end users are reporting phishing alerts. So I talked a little bit about this. If you see something, say something, report it to the SOC so they can investigate it. The second part to investigation that's creating strain on the organization is the release from quarantine requests, right? Release from quarantine requests are if your email security solution today blocks an email that's phishing or blocks an email that's malware, and you believe that to be a false positive, meaning you think that's a real email, you ask, hey, can you release this email from quarantine? So again, that goes to the IT team or the SOC team who then is responsible for investigating that. So those are the two elements of investigation. One of the things that we wanted to know is, and we felt like we knew the answer to this early on, but we wanted to ask the question anyway. Do your users report suspected phishing emails? And what you can see here is almost 90% of the organizations we interviewed have a process by which end users are able to report suspected phishing emails. There are different tools that you can use. There's your Fish Me, your Know Before, Report Fish icons. Your Microsoft or Google has a Mark as Junk feature and functionality as well. But you can see 46% of the organizations have a button or a specific feature that they can click to report an email as phishing, suspected phishing. 43% of the organizations just forward the email on to the admin and require them to take care of it. A little surprised, 11% don't really have a formalized process for this. So that was a little bit of a surprise. I was kind of expecting there to be 100%, but it is what it is. I think this is a lot better than probably we've seen in the past. This is probably improving, but this really goes to the point is that we're training our end users in quite well to report suspected phishing emails. Those emails need to go to someone. Someone needs to triage them and look at them, and that's falling on someone's got to take the time to do that. Typical investigative steps that are involved. They use there are multiple things they do when they go and investigate. So analyzing message headers, for example, investigating links is another one. So looking at the link, doing DNS lookups. How old is this link? How long has this website been enabled? Are they using any sort of like WordPress or something like that? Is it linking to a document? Investigate the sender. In some cases, people will actually go into LinkedIn and try to find out who the sender really is. Who else received that email? They might want to investigate. So if I got an end user alert said, hey, I think this might be phishing, the SOC might actually go and see who else got that email. And in some cases, the SOC is actually communicating directly with the end user on a phone call or an email. And I tell you, a lot of time what ends up happening is an email gets reported, comes in to the organization, and the SOC has to go back and ask them, can you please send me the header? I need to see the header. And it goes back and forth like that. So that's one piece of the puzzle I'd like to drill down into at some point, is really understand how much back and forth is really going on from that perspective. So multiple steps and multiple tools. In one case, you go into O365, and then you might go into you might go to your firewall logs to see if that link was actually clicked. You might log into O365 or look at your seg, right? There are a lot of different tools that are being leveraged to do this investigation. Now, the point here is what we found is, okay, in your investigation duties, how much time are you spending on average inspecting each email? And it came out to be 7.7 minutes, right? And that adds up over time, obviously. When you look at how many of those requests come in per week, per month, per year, you're talking about significant amount of time. And this is really fueled by phishing awareness training and corporate policies. Phishing awareness training, it's good, right? You need to do it, but you don't implement phishing training to secure email. You use it to manage the exceptions. And we got a good blog on this that we wrote a little bit more about. We'll do a webinar at some point on it. But phishing awareness training is important to manage the exceptions. And it's important to help train users on what to do if they receive something that they think is malicious, or how to identify that, right? So we're fueling this fire by having people report suspected emails and corporate policies. Corporate policies now are such that, and we've seen one case where you are mandated to report 3 emails per month. We've seen this case. And in that one case, it resulted in the SOC receiving 15,000 requests per month right? 15,000 investigation requests per month. So you look at that, you add that up over time, that's a lot of time. No wonder why the SOC is getting burnt out. And in general, the average is the SOC receives about 68.7 end user reports per week. And it's just a lot to go through. It turns out 33.8% of those are malicious. So for better or worse, those investigation alerts are yielding, on average, 33 out of 100 are yielding malicious emails. So it's good that people are identifying it. It's bad that they're actually reaching the end users. So the bottom line is a lot of stuff is slipping through the cracks and requiring a lot of effort to get those users, to get those investigations. Now, remember, I talked about the two pieces to investigation. One are the number of, hey, is this phishing, investigation requests. On the other side of the equation are, I think this is a false positive. I don't think this is a malicious email. Can you please restore that? Right. And so what we find is organizations are receiving 16 of those requests per week. And it turns out 30% of those are actually false positive. Right. So you can see, again, a lot of time being spent trying to manage this threat, while the problem, it's not really solving the problem. All right, so the third perspective, the third component we want to drill into is the response, right? And what is involved with the response? So the response that we found, the questions we asked, what are you doing when you're responding to a phishing event? One of the terms that we've heard used quite often and that we use as well is search and destroy. So you've got a confirmed phishing email. Now you need to go and find out who else has that email. Right? What other inboxes did that email land in? Did that account get compromised? So I actually look and see, are there emails, is there anomalous emails coming out of that individual's account? Are there logins from unusual countries, impossible travel? We got to check the firewall logs to determine which links were actually clicked. If you're using like a rewrite, a click rewrite kind of capability, like with safe links or some of the other tools out there, they rewrite links. They allow you to track what email was what links were actually clicked. So again, a lot of what we call swivel chair analysis, going from one tool to another, to another, to another, to try to piece this all together, and reviewing event logs as well. Of course, nothing goes without having to review an event log. So these are the common activities that we found associated with the overall response. So I want to bring this back. What is all this telling us, right? What this is telling us is that although we have the lowest click rate in history, click rate is a measure of when you're doing a phishing training exercise and you send out fake phishing emails to your end users to see who opens it, who clicks on the link. The Verizon data breach report shows that we're at a sub 3% click rate, right? That's the lowest we've had in history, right? We're doing better at identifying phishing emails. We have more automation tools at our disposal. We have more tools like Demisto and Splunk and this and that and the other. We've got the best training out there. The training platforms are out there are second to none. They're really good at training the end users. They've even got things in there that are humorous, that that keep people engaged on the content. Now we got corporate policies that are enforcing security awareness training. Yet, with all this stuff, the SOC is still overwhelmed dealing with the threat, and the attacks are still reaching the end users at record pace. So what is the answer, right? We want to continue to train people on what's phishing and what's not. That'll never be perfect. There is no silver bullet. At the end of the day, there's no silver bullet. So you got to continue to train. You got to continue to automate. But what we know for an absolute fact, that the single biggest variable to reducing the phishing threat, to reducing the amount of time that the SOC and your organization is spending managing the email threat, is implement advanced email security. That is the absolute single biggest variable, and we have data to prove this. We have a global Fortune 500, and this is pretty par for the course with our customers. Within one day, a 5-minute deployment they saw a reduction in phishing attacks reaching their end users by 99.2%. We didn't train a single person, right? We didn't implement a single response automation tool. We just simply blocked those emails with an advanced AI enabled capability. So not only did we reduce that threat significantly, right? We reduced the amount of alerts the SOC received by 71.2%. 71.2% reduction in the number of alerts that the SOC receives from end users reporting suspected phishing emails, right? This was a huge time saving. We always talk about two things. We're going to secure your organization, number one, by reducing the threat, and we're going to help you save time. That's the second piece. It's got to go hand in hand. You know, we talk a lot about, you know, advanced email security, and we'll get into it in a little bit. But when Avanan came to the market, we did not want to take the same approach. We felt like the Proofpoints and the Mimecasts and the Barracudas of the world, those solutions made sense when email was on-prem. You had an email exchange server sitting in a closet somewhere. Taking that same capability, putting in front of O365, putting in front of Gmail didn't make sense. And there's a lot of reasons why, and we'll get into it in a minute. So we came up with a brand new approach, brand new API driven. We were the only ones that were doing API based email security at the time. And in our analysis, and there's a blog on the website you can go and look at, Avanan was 15 times more effective than the legacy approaches like a Proofpoint, Mimecast, and Barracuda. It's our AI capability. It's being embedded within the cloud. We're 18 times more effective than ATP. And this is consistent across the board, right? So this is the analysis that we've uncovered, and this is why we're so well rated in Gartner and G2, why our customers love us, right? We've got great marketing, we've got a great sales team, but surely that's not the reason why we're doing as well as we're doing. We're doing as well as we're doing because of the technology, and it works, and it's built for the cloud. And this is, you know, when you talk to customers and you go to the Gartner Peer Insights, you go to the G2 reviews, please do. I encourage everyone that's interested in securing email to please start your search there and look at the quotes, look what people are saying. Again, that echoes what I'm saying. And I'm always about validation. Validate, you know, you don't have to take my word for it. You can validate it for yourself by looking at the reviews. And you can see a lot of the reviews are validating. They're saying we're saving time, we're decreasing the threat, right? Consistent. You can see here again, you know, this is talking about no false positives, a drastic reduction in phishing attacks. Again, they're echoing exactly what I'm saying. And this is it. This is really the secret sauce right here. And it's, you know, we're happy to talk about it. It's a solution API enabled that's embedded within the cloud. All right, so we're sitting behind Proofpoint, we're sitting behind Mimecast or Barracuda. We're sitting behind your other security layers. Now, we don't require those. In fact, 95% of our customers don't have a legacy gateway deployed in front. 95% of our customers are using us as a sole email security provider. Now, that says a lot. What we do is we embed ourselves. This is why we can do a 5-minute deployment. You don't need to reroute your MX record. You know, everything's all done right there within the UI. And once we have connected your Avanan account to your O365 or Gmail tenant, we have the complete visibility. And the visibility is much greater here, looking at all activity. We're looking at inbound email. We're looking at internal email. We're looking at logins into O365. We're looking at who's using SharePoint, OneDrive. We're connected to Teams, so we know what's going on there. We're securing the entire suite because we have visibility into the entire suite on a continuous basis. Sitting out here, it's myopic. It's a single email at a single point in time. Here we have complete visibility all the time that allows us to secure the entire suite. And that visibility is what's training our AI, right? Our AI is the best in the business. And that's why we have such a high catch rate with a low false positive rate. And again, I always say, I go back to this whole point about validation. Don't necessarily take, if you want to take my word for it, great. But you can look at our reviews, you can talk to our customers, you can see how well we're doing there. Maybe you can look at what Gartner's saying about us. The other thing is you can try it out for yourself in your own environment with your own data. And this is what we always encourage that. Some of the other legacy gateway providers, they do not encourage trials. Too much of a heavy lift, and they don't want to rely on their name to get your business. We want to rely on the technology, the results, right? That's what we're relying on. So in 5 minutes, you can do a trial, get it up and running, and see the results for yourself. And that's part of the process that we go through. Now, leave you with a little bit of an advertisement for the content that we have. We have a great marketing team, like I said. I'm very proud of what they do. They work very hard, and they have three focuses, right? One is they're going to develop content to make you laugh. So every month we're coming out with new comics all the time. Especially now in COVID, it's always great to get a good chuckle here and there. Come up with content to make you cry in the regards that, we have what we call our attack briefs. Our attack briefs are essentially things that we caught that the other securities miss. And I want to go back here. When we sit back here, we can deploy as a trial behind any other security solution you have, and we'll identify the attacks that everyone else missed. And so that's what these attack briefs are, right? We're seeing in the wild attacks that other providers are missing on a day in and day out basis. And when we see these, we do investigation, we do the analysis, and we do write-ups. So we have our attack briefs as well. So we got, content to make you cry in that regard. And then we got content to make you think. Every quarter, we come up with a new report, a new white paper. The latest one is on Microsoft Teams, where we go into the importance of securing teams. When you look at Avanan, you look at one of the reasons why we're so successful is we don't believe just email alone. You don't just secure email, you secure the entire suite. And from our perspective, that includes Teams, right? So we got a great report on that, on the importance of securing Teams, basically all lines of collaboration. And with that, open it up. Richard, how do you want to take it from here? You want to open it up for questions? I'm happy to hang on.
Okay, thank you, Don. Thank you. I think it was very, very good. I think very insightful. If you have questions, please put it in the chat. So just write it down, whatever question you have. At the moment, I have one question, Don, and it says we are using Slack. What we can do when we use Slack? Is it a backdoor then afterwards, or?
Yeah, no, we have an integration with Slack. That's one of our supported applications. Absolutely, just the same way we do with Teams. Now, let me describe a little bit of whether it's Slack or OneDrive or Box or Dropbox or Microsoft Teams. The way it works is that we're connecting to the suite. So we're connecting to that cloud-based application. And as you're writing messages to people, right, as you're sharing files, what we do is we scan the messages and we scan the content. We want to make sure the content is secure and doesn't contain, malware, doesn't contain links to, phishing links, that sort of thing. So we're actually scanning both the messages and content. If we see something that's malicious, we can actually, what we call tombstone that message or that document. Tombstone essentially means we're just quarantining it. So that's no longer accessible, shoot you an alert. That security does extend to DLP as well. So we can actually turn on DLP. If you're concerned about from a Slack perspective or Teams perspective or email for that matter, anything in the cloud, if you want to make sure that someone's not sharing sensitive content, sensitive documents outside the organization, you want to scan that content to make sure it's free of sensitive information. That DLP functionality is also one of our core bread and butter as well.
Okay, great. That was a good answer. So for Slack, it's the same. Okay, the other question was how to test it. That I will answer. Just send an email to us, or go to the Acquire website, or go to the Avanan website, and everywhere you can ask for evaluation. It's from my perspective, our experience was so far. If someone is testing it, it was really straightforward. There's a video how you set it up, and then uh, so far we had really no big question. It was just running, and people were really amazed about it. So
Yep,
that's
and I always like to make myself available. We have a team that if you got questions, you can, Richard, you can invite your team to engage with us. If you're comfortable with, us being part of the process, absolutely happy to be as much involved or as little involved as you want. So certainly let us know on that.
okay. So it seems that there are no more questions. So Don, I say thank you very much.
Well,
And
I really appreciate you guys. Like I said at the beginning, you guys have a great organization. Really been an honor partnering with you guys, and look forward to much more.
okay, we just posted the link for the trial. So if someone wants to have a trial or do it online, you can do it via the Avanan Page. Okay, Dankeschön fürs Zuhören. Wenn noch Fragen sind, bitte kommen Sie einfach auf uns zu. Wir stehen jederzeit für Sie da. Und wir müssen sagen, so bis jetzt die Erfahrungen mit Avanan waren echt überzeugend, und die Kunden sind mehr als zufrieden bis jetzt gewesen. Also das ist also echt sehr, 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 sehr positiv. Also kommen Sie auf uns zu, und es, egal ob die Organisation groß oder klein ist, Avanan hat dafür die Lösung. Okay, vielen herzlichen Dank, und ich wünsche noch einen schönen, hoffentlich sonnigen Nachmittag. Vielen Dank. Tschüss. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for helping us, and talk to you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.